Okay, so I have used a lot of really nice mechanical keyboards in my day, but this is probably the first time that I felt like I found the perfect mechanical keyboard. Perfect is such a strong word to use, but for a piece of tech like this, it's difficult for me to not call it perfect. It ticks all the boxes, and it does absolutely everything that I need my keyboard to do. Introducing the Keychron K2 Hot-swappable mechanical keyboard, the first hot-swappable mechanical keyboard that I've ever used that actually has the function role for macOS and functions without you having to put it on a function layer. It's also the first mechanical keyboard that I've seen that has a switch for macOS as well as Windows OS, so whatever OS you're actually using, your keyboard can actually perform tailored to that operating system. But I digress. Let's actually talk about the unboxing experience for this keyboard. You get a black box, which looks very stealthy and very nice. When you open up the black box, you're greeted with some literature, some paperwork, and a card that basically shows you where all the keycaps are supposed to be and gives you some information about the keyboard. And you get the keyboard itself in all of its glory inside of a nylon material with a dust cover, which is actually really nice, getting a dust cover for a keyboard like this. And when you check the back of that box, you're basically going to get a USB-C cable. It's a braided USB-C cable. It's not the thickest cable, but it's actually fairly high quality and it's not something that's going to be damaged. Now, the cable is L-shaped because the port for this keyboard is actually on the side, as opposed to being on the back like most other keyboards. And aside that, you're going to get a keycap puller. It's going to be the wired keycap puller, the kind that's really good and it's not going to destroy your keycaps. And you're also going to get a hot swap tool. Beyond the hot swap tool, you're actually going to get extra keycaps for Windows users. So if you want to change the command option and control button to your Windows Alt, you can actually do that. And you also get some special Keychron keycaps that you can use for something like your escape key or something if you'd like to do that. Now, jumping straight into the physical bits of this keyboard, it actually has almost no flex, like next to zero flex. It's a plastic keyboard, quite alright, but it's so well built that you're probably not going to be able to dent this keyboard. I tried my best to bend it, but I was not successful. To more about the physical bits of the keyboard, like I said before, all the ports and switches and everything were moved to the left side of the keyboard, and that's actually fantastic ergonomically because it works, at least for me it does. On the back of the keyboard, you're going to get 4 non-slip rubber feet. This rubber feet are going to help you keep the keyboard on your desk and have it not move around when you don't have like a desk mat or something. The incline for the keyboard is actually adjustable with 2 extra steps. You get a short one and a long one, and both of these actually have rubber feet under them, helping you keep the keyboard static on your desk as well. Now, moving to the keys, the keycaps on this are actually dye sublimated and they are actually with the pass-through. So your RGB and backlighting can actually pass through your keycaps, and these are really high quality keycaps. Like, it's ridiculous how good these keycaps are. They are not going to shine over time. They're not going to give you any problems like peeling or anything, and they're probably not going to get very easily damaged. So I really love the quality of the keycaps that Keychron actually included with this board. Speaking of the actual key switches, my unit came with Gateron brown switches, but I have since changed those to Gateron Cap yellows and Gateron Cap milky switches. I used a combination of both of them because for me that gives me the best typing experience. Now, the Gateron browns were great, but I just preferred the Cap yellows and the Cap milkies because they just sound better. They also felt better. Now, here's a typing test that actually compares the Gateron Cap switches to the Gateron brown so that you can actually get a sense of what this keyboard sounds like when you're typing on this. Now, as you probably heard from that typing test, whether I was on Gateron browns or using Gateron Cap switches, the keyboard sounded fantastic. And that is because this keyboard, the stabilizers actually came pre-lubed and clipped and even glued in place. I actually checked this out and I actually noticed that even though the stabilizers actually sounded and felt fantastic, they seemed to have been over lubed by just a little bit. There was some of that lube actually reflecting on the plastic. So I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing, but for my user experience, it actually doesn't affect anything and the keyboard actually sounds and types fantastic. There was zero rattle on my spacebar. Like, I've used a lot of keyboards that came pre-lubed and clipped and there was very little rattle, but this one actually had none at all. Another thing that I wanted to note is that the Gateron Cap Switches don't actually support RGB pass-through, so if you notice that it seems some of the keys are actually darker than others when the RGB is on, it's because I am using the Gateron Cap Switches while making this video. And speaking of RGB, the button on the top rightmost corner of this keyboard is actually going to be your on and off switch for your LEDs or RGB. So basically, if you hold down the function and that button, you can turn it off or turn it on. And if you use function and the up, down, left, right arrows, you can basically change the RGB color settings, or you can change the intensity and speed of the lighting. You can also use the control and the button on the top rightmost corner to get different RGB effects, to suit your needs, and whatever you like, you can pretty much do and customize the RGB on this keyboard to look anyhow you want. Now, I may be a bit biased because I am a huge fan of 75% keyboards. This form factor for me is the best form factor for a keyboard, and you honestly can't do any better than this. And for me, the Keychron K2, Hot-swappable, because apparently there's actually another version of this keyboard that's not Hot-swappable. This one is honestly just perfect because now you're giving me a keyboard that can work with macOS. Because I'm a macOS user, all my function layers are not going to be on function layers anymore. Pretty much my function row works, and you give me Bluetooth, which makes it wireless, you give me RGB, and you give me hot swap. So now I can completely change the key switches to whatever I feel like on a different day every single time. And like with all that, this keyboard wasn't already perfect. The keyboard actually comes in at just under $100. I don't know, around this time during my mechanical keyboard reviews, I'm looking for a con to actually tell you, oh, this is something that I don't like about this board. But this keyboard is the first one that I feel like is actually completely perfect. There are no gripes with this keyboard. It's all advantages and no cons. So whether you're a Windows user or Mac OS user or even a Linux user, Keychron thought about everything that you could possibly need in your mechanical keyboard, and they covered all bases. Nobody was left behind, and every single keyboard user is going to be very satisfied with the Keychron K2 Hot-swappable. I hope this video was helpful for somebody. Thank you so much for watching, and I guess I will see you on another video that was shot by Kagan. Peace.